The Boston Bruins have announced their opening night roster, and Tyler Johnson is not on it. They've officially sent Lysell to Providence to start the season, and Jeremy Swayman is back on the ice, and Montgomery might have changed his mind who will start now on Tuesday. I wanted to give you all the updates I could leading into game number 1 for the Boston Bruins. So buckle up, Bruins fans. I'm here to give you the latest info on your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already done so, thank you, and let's get into it. So let's go over the roster, and then we'll talk about who isn't playing and who isn't on the roster. A lot of names I'm going to say will obviously be no surprise. We'll start with Johnny Beecher, Justin Brazeau, Charlie Coyle, Trent Frederick, Morgan Geekie, Max Jones, Mark Kastelic, Cole Kopecky, Elias Lindholm, Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, Matthew Patra, Riley Tufte, and rounding out the forward group, we've got Pavel Zacha. It was nice to see Tufte make the club out of camp, as I was impressed with his speed and his north-south game during the preseason. And he wasn't on a lot of people's radars to make the club. Montgomery spoke after practice how much he'd like to play a Beecher with Kastelic. So, I expect them to be a force on the fourth line this year. He also talked about Kopecky as well. Patra skated, but he is still day-to-day and with an undisclosed injury and was wearing a red non-contact jersey. But at this time, there was no timeline for him.
I know you had some options setting up your bottom six. How did you land on what we saw here today?
We thought Kastelic and Beecher played really well throughout camp together. Koepke had a strong camp, and then the third line was guys that we think are going to be important, big, and heavy to us.
The other thing that you had talked about, you want to create more anxiety on the forecheck. What's the art to doing that?
Well, it starts with good puck placement, and it starts with good breakouts and neutral zone counters. That gets speed onto the puck.
What's Patra's status right now?
Day to day. He's day to day. That's why he's in a red jersey.
Potentially available tomorrow, or is
he's not available tomorrow.
The defensemen to make the team are Brandon Carlo, Hampus Lindholm, Mason Lowry, Charlie McAvoy, Ian Mitchell, Andrew Peak, Alex Regula, Parker Witherspoon, and Nikita Zadorov. And the goalies are Jonas Korpisalo and newly signed Jeremy Swayman. Mitchell, Regula, and Patra are all on the injured reserve. Based on the practice line today, we're going to see Zacha with Lindholm and Pastrnak, Marchand, Coyle, and Geekie, Jones, Frederick, and Brazeau, Beecher, Kastelic, and Kopecky, with the D pairs as Lindholm, McAvoy, Lowry, Carlo, and Zadorov, Peak. And the biggest surprise of the day was Montgomery changing his tune and suggesting that Swayman could start tomorrow.
Oh, it was great. I mean, he has so much great energy, and I thought that elevated the practice, and I thought he looked sharp.
Do you have any sense of how long it might take with him?
I don't know. He's a potential goalie tomorrow night.
that's
Undecided. We're undecided.
Swayman seemed in very good spirits for obvious reasons and was saying that he was training at BU during training camp and was in constant conversation with his teammates throughout the whole process.
Great to be back. I mean, it's a breath of fresh air.
How ready are you? We heard you talk about all the prep that you put in yesterday. How ready do you feel to start the season?
I feel ready to play, and I put myself in that position, and I've had, again, great training over at BU during this training camp, and I feel like I put myself in a really good position to be ready to perform when I get my name called.
Tomorrow?
I hope so. I would love that.
Does that feel realistic, though?
It's up to the coaching staff, and again, I trust them completely, and if they feel like I'm ready, they know I am. So that's what I want to, let them know, and they do know that, which is a great thing.
What was the plane ride like yesterday coming down? Was there a lot of, chop busting, guys ribbing you? What was that like?
It wasn't. It was welcome with open arms, and that just goes to show what kind of team we have here, and all these guys. I was talking to them during the whole process. Every day I was getting 2 to 3 phone calls and just catching up, knowing exactly what's going on around camp, and they all said as soon as you return it's gonna be like nothing. It's gonna be a seamless transition. So exactly what it was, and again, it's a blessing. And throughout this process, I think the biggest thing I learned was the gratitude that I have, getting the ability to come to the rink every day and work hard for the Spokane. So I'm really grateful.
I was a little shocked about Montgomery mentioning that Swayman could start, but I trust their judgment. If they think he's ready, I did think it was a little posturing when Montgomery named his starter last week, and it kind of felt out of sorts. If Korpisalo gets the nod, I have no doubt the Bruins will play just as good in front of him, and the team has full confidence in him in the net. The fourth line of Beecher, Kastelik, and Kopecky will be a pain to play against, and they can rotate who takes the draws. Between Beecher and Kastelik, depending on the situation or matchup, Beecher was one of the best face-off men during the playoffs and truly impressed me, so I have no doubt he'll be taking draws from time to time, even though he's on the wing. I'm a little surprised they still have Zadorov with Peak, as I felt they didn't look like they complemented each other out there, but that was only preseason. I know they've been practicing together, and hopefully will be a nasty shutdown pair. The Bruins' bottom six looks big and tough to play against it, and it'll be a good test against the Florida Panthers to see what they can do and if they can play with pace. This is a lot heavier of a team and a bigger team this year from the Bruins, and they looked built for the playoffs. They need to make it to the playoffs first, though. I'm very interested to see the power play at work. As Monty had mentioned, Pasternak and Marchand were happy to have a right shot in the bumper again with Lindholm, as it used to work so well when they had Bergie there. With so much roster turnover, I'm expecting the Bruins to stumble out the gate a bit until they found a rhythm with each other, but I hope I'm wrong. They've been practicing a lot, and if everyone commits to the system, they should be fine. And with talking about the opening night roster, we have to talk about who isn't here, and I will start with Tyler Johnson, who did not join the team on the flight to Florida. Sweeney mentioned he would have to make some tough decisions for now, and the Bruins don't have the cap space to sign Johnson. I'm sure if they send players down and trim the roster a bit, they can, but for now, he isn't signed by the Bruins. Yesterday, Don Sweeney announced the following roster transactions: Ryan Bichelle, Michael Callahan, Riley Duran, Jackson Edwards, Brett Harrison, Kazimir Casillo, Fabian Lysell, Georgiy Merkulov, and Jackson Nelson have all been assigned to Providence. Patrick Brown, Brandon Bussey, Yuri Patera, Billy Sweezy, and Jeffrey Vale had been placed on waivers for the purpose of assignment to Providence. Every player cleared waivers, including Bussey, who most thought wouldn't, but Patera was claimed by Vancouver, who Boston originally claimed from Vancouver on waivers. Nothing gained, nothing lost. I feel as Patera wasn't destined to be a Bruin, as well as we all knew that once they signed Swayman, he'd be the odd man out. The good news for the Bruins fans is Bussey is still in the organization, and he can be a starter in Providence and work on his game, and when the time comes, can get called back up, and I'm sure he'll be ready. I want to say the same for Fabian Lysell, who took too long to get things going in camp, and I feel by the time he started showing his skills off, the coaching staff and management had already made up their minds on who was making this roster. I have no doubt that Lysell will be on the first call-up of the year. That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks surrounding the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed, thank you, and I'll see you next time.